Hello and welcome to The Wild Review. I'm The Wild Reviewer and today I'm going to review a thing. Well, by the time that this video goes out, it'll be February 14th. A Tuesday. I always put videos up on Tuesdays. If you know me personally, and by that I mean if you know me as a person, if you're somebody watching this who knows me, you'll know that I am not very fond of this day. Nothing wrong with the day itself, it's an ordinary Tuesday, except it's got a little holiday connected to it, and again, if you know me, you'll know I'm not very fond of this holiday. I'm not going to go into details on why, because I don't think it's a story or something that should be talked about, but I will say that because it's not a holiday I'm very fond of, I don't watch many things related to this holiday. Usually around this time, everyone watches romance films. They watch things that have to do with love, and I'm not a romance type of person. I'm more of comedy, action, animated adventure, cliffhanger, sci-fi, comedy things. However, ironically, I do watch episodes based around this holiday. It's weird, sounds like I'm contradicting myself that I don't watch romance, but if it's a show that is funny or action-packed and just does one stupid Valentine's Day episode one time, then it's alright. What's even more ironic, that one of my favorite episodes from a little cartoon known as The Fairly Odd Parents, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, one of my favorite episodes happens to be the Valentine's Day episode, ironically. That episode is Love Struck. The Fairly Odd Parents has done numerous of episodes revolving around the idea of love. And this just so happens to be one of my favorites. Again, ironic because I hate the holiday that it's celebrating and based off of. This was a season 3 episode of The Fairly Odd Parents, so this came before the atrocities known as Sparky and Chloe and Anti-Poof. I mean, basically got rid of all the other anti-fairies after that. In the episode, it's Valentine's Day in Dimsdale, and Timmy wants to ask Trixie, his crush and the popular girl at school, to be his Valentine. But Cupid, who appears in this episode, tells Timmy that he's the only one who has the ability to choose whose Valentine can be whose, and he chooses Tootie as Timmy's Valentine. A little funny, seeing that at the end of this whole series they end up together. That is counted, right? We are saying that that's part of the storyline, and we could say that that's the end of the storyline and don't have to go into any other awful character developments, right? Right? Timmy disregards what Cupid says about Tootie being his Valentine and decides to go with Trixie to be his Valentine anyway. It basically puts on this huge musical number to impress her. But like always, Trixie breaks Timmy's heart and basically rejects him and literally ejects him into the streets, having Timmy be embarrassed in front of all the girls who just witnessed what happened. Timmy gets mad, gets embarrassed, and makes a wish that all the girls would just go away so he doesn't have to deal with this problem. This causes a wall to form in the middle of Earth. Kinda like the wall that Trump wants to build. Hey, look at that! It's the first political joke that I've ever tried to make on camera in my life! How about that? So the wall divides Earth up into two parts, having the girls live on one side and the boys live on the other. This leads to two different worlds being made. The girls live in this utopian, clean, happy place, while the guys live in this messy, stinky, dirty, smelly guy cave, man cave place. I should also probably mention that each sex basically has their minds wiped from the other sex. So none of the girls remember what a guy is, and none of the guys remember what a girl is. Timmy is the only one on Earth who remembers both boys and girls. Because of Timmy's wish, it makes Cupid very fragile and weak and very thin and old-like, as nobody is loving on Earth. That means Valentine's Day is ruined. I kinda like that. But because we need a happy ending, Timmy decides that he'll be the one to fix this after Cupid comes after him. Seeing that both the guys and girls feel like there's something wrong, Timmy decides to break the wall down so girls and guys can match up together and love each other again. In the end, everybody finds their match, Cupid gains his magic and strength again, and Trixie goes up to Timmy saying that she will be his Valentine, but Timmy decides to decline that and goes to Tootie, who cries over him, and Trixie and Tootie end up being Valentines, and Trixie becomes a social maniac who calls Timmy every night. And I'm not exaggerating, that's what happens at the end of the episode, like at the title card. It's kind of a strange plot, but I actually like the episode. Like I said, it's one of my favorite episodes, ironically, because it's about the holiday that I hate. But what's interesting about and the reason I talk about this episode is not only because it's the holiday themed. Trust me, I really don't want there to be a Valentine's Day themed episode on this show. But I bring it up because it's actually interesting when you think about it, because a lot of people don't like this episode, even though it is classic Fairly Odd Parents. I've heard numerous people say that this episode is not one of their favorites, mostly because they find it very sexist and very stereotypical the way the characters are portrayed. Girls are meant to act like girls, and boys are meant to act like boys in this episode. The whole idea of stereotypes in this episode is kind of what gets people more, I want to say mad, but not really mad. You can't really get mad at a show unless it leaves you hanging at a cliffhanger that you know will never get resolved. It's okay, I'm past that now. Some people also like to say that the writing in this episode wasn't good and that the way that all the characters were portrayed were really bad. But it's majority because of the whole plot with the whole splitting up the girls and boys so they can act like themselves. That's what gets everybody aggravated. Now, this isn't the first time that Fairly Odd Parents has done something like this, but this is the first time that they've somewhat contradicted themselves, at least in my eyes. I haven't seen any contradictory in this show's past, but this episode contradicts itself from a season 2 episode, The Boy Who Would Be Queen. In that episode, Timmy gets turned into a girl, so this way he gets a better idea to see what kind of gift he can get for Trixie for her birthday. And on his little adventure as a girl, he runs into the comic book store because he's still a guy on the inside, and finds out that Trixie has disguised herself as a guy so she could read comic books, because she actually likes comic books. And this episode basically gave the little moral and lesson saying that just because you're a girl, that doesn't mean you have to do girl stuff, and just because you're a guy doesn't mean you have to do guy stuff. In this case, guys can like soap operas and girls can like comic books. There's nothing wrong with that. Just because you're assigned to a certain sex doesn't necessarily mean that you need to stay by that sex. I mean, let's look in the real world. So many people have switched their gender, some people even have decided to become both, and it even moved forward to relationship-wise, seeing that we now have people who are married as the same sex. You can love a guy if you're a guy, and you can love a girl if you're a girl, and there's nothing wrong with that. So, though this episode showed us that guys can like girl stuff and girls can like guy stuff, Love Struck shows the complete opposite, as it somewhat contradicts itself. I, for one, however, again, ironically, like this episode. And this is why. The first reason is because it's classic Fairly Odd Parents. And though that's not the biggest reason why I like the episode, it's also because it's a very rare episode to watch of this show. Sure, Nickelodeon doesn't play any of the old Fairly Odd Parents anymore. They actually play most of them on Nicktoons now, along with the new Fairly Odd Parents, but this is a Valentine's Day episode. Nickelodeon rarely plays any holiday episodes, and when that holiday does end up coming around, up until that holiday, that's when they start playing the holiday episodes of shows. So unlike every other episode where it can be played any other day in the year, this episode can only be played in the beginning month of February, and Valentine's Day is the last day it stops. So seeing that this is a very rare episode of the show, it's kind of nice to sit back and watch what the show used to be. The second reason is because of the songs that are sung in this episode. Yeah, so whenever Fairly Odd Parents has a holiday episode, they always seem to add a musical number in it. They did it with Christmas, obviously, they did it with Halloween, surprisingly, and they did it with this one. They did it with this one twice, which is funny. I've heard the cast of this show sing before, and they're not all bad. They're actually pretty good singers when they're in character voices. One of my favorite songs from this episode is Great to Be a Guy. Not only because it's just a funny song, but also because Tara Strong plays Timmy. Tara Strong is a female, and she had to sing this song because her character is a guy. So imagining Tara Strong singing this song about how great it is to be a guy knowing that she's a female is both awkward, but also pretty funny. And the last reason why I like it is because though the story plot can be seen as very wrong, as it's pointing out all the sexual stuff and stereotypes, the plot is pretty interesting. The fact that a wall formed around the Earth and separated the two genders kind of shows what kind of environments would be made if that one gender just stayed in that natural habitat. But I just like the way that the whole design of the towns are. I find it very interesting. So overall, I like Love Struck, ironically. It's a funny episode. I can understand why people wouldn't like it. The songs are pretty good. It's just one of my favorite episodes of the whole entire show. I should mention, though, that New Fairly Odd Parents has attempted to remake this episode. I did a full Fairly Odd Parents series review way back when I started this channel. I mentioned in that video that the new episodes of Fairly Odd Parents have basically run out of ideas and are basically now copying old episodes, in which case they're just redoing old wishes. This was one of those episodes. And it's sad because I was actually watching it when it premiered, and I hated it. I don't remember the name, but it's the exact same plot, but the only difference is the girls are not on a different side of the earth. They're just gone for 24 hours. I think the whole point was that the guys had to prove that they're alright without girls in their life. That's how much I don't care about New Fairly Odd Parents. I don't decide or choose to pay attention to it anymore, but the fact that they're remaking episodes is really bad. So that's what I think about Love Struck. I'm not going to go into why I don't like Valentine's Day, but let's just say that it's not my holiday. We'll just leave it at that. Now I want to hear what you guys think. What's your favorite episode about Fairly Odd Parents? Do you like Love Struck? Do you think it's a pretty good episode? Do you agree, disagree with anything I said in this video? Tell me in the comments, and also leave me your suggestions for every movie, TV show, or random thing you want me to talk about next. Thanks for watching The Wild Review. I'm The Wild Reviewer, and you just saw me review a thing.